You'd think at some point I'd learn how to create a good cold open, or a warm open even.
Yeah, getting started's always the hardest part.
Which is, weirdly enough, how I wanted to get this started. Openly admitting that every time we don't set up an intro, it is the hardest goddamn thing in the universe, unless something completely organic, like finding a turtle on the side of the highway, shows up and then weaves itself into the story.
Right. Man, I swear the thing that takes us the longest is just starting. And once we start, it goes pretty smooth for the most part. But, oh my God, every single time.
And in the same kind of respect to the episode, I'm Tucker.
I'm Kenny.
And this is Recorder and Sam.
What are we doing right now? We're doing a behind the scenes of Recorder and Sam.
For a couple of reasons.
Yes.
It doesn't entirely have to do with us just skipping a whole bunch of time and giving up. As the pandemic has progressed, it has become harder and harder to set up weekly events with people.
Yeah.
And doing so via the internet has proven difficult due to the efficiency of other people's microphones.
The listeners of this probably have noticed at some point some guests sound better than others, and I'm not going to name names because, hey, we're doing this podcast, not the people we have coming on. And they work with what they have, and it was good while we could do it, but it got to the point where, it got to
the point where we couldn't keep making excuses for why there was bad audio.
Yeah, so, I mean, we had to kind of in-universe move things around and say certain things to kind of sweep it under the rug, but all in all, just being able to get somebody was getting super hard to do. And I know I have a full-time job on the side of this, and because of the pandemic, my job was getting more like it was getting harder to do my job because the more people that were affected by it, the more things I had to do. So it made it hard to edit when my time was being basically taken from me.
So let the record show that we do in fact plan on coming back with a season 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
All things being said, I think we only wound up losing one of our pre-planned episodes from season 1.
Yeah, but it was arguably the one we were looking forward to the most, right?
Yeah, but it can also be used as an opener for season 2. So
yeah,
it should all work out fairly well in the end, provided, the world pretends like it's going to go back to normal.
Yeah, and it would be super easy if you and I could just do this together instead of over the internet.
Yes. And I think that being said, that's about as deep as I want to go into like socio-political things.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So let's come in hot. Give me between 1 and 3 things that you are absolutely constantly worried about with this podcast.
Constantly worried about?
Yeah, so something you're gonna worry, something that constantly eats at your nerves.
Oh boy, let's see. Deadlines. Just making sure that it gets up Fridays. I know we say it comes out every other Friday, and there's been a handful of episodes that have come out Saturday, Sunday, God forbid, Monday morning. But lately, I think I've been pretty good about editing it in a short amount of time and being able to get it out.
I will cheap shot you there. There is no lately. It's been like 2 months.
Lately, as in the last few episodes that came out, I'd go so far as to say, I don't know, I'm going to be generous to myself and say 10 episodes have been coming out pretty much on time.
I think we only goofed up a couple, and over the span of an entire year, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about that the episode with Levos was our 1-year anniversary, and we didn't even realize it because we were so focused on doing it. We didn't really think about the last year.
Yeah.
But what else? Deadlines. I already said that. Quality. That's something that that bugs me when I can hear something wrong with audio and I can't fix it. And I know we've mentioned it in universe sort of before, and people have come right out and said they haven't noticed it, but I notice it, and that annoys me.
Yeah, I get it.
And a third thing?
I don't know if you have a third thing. I figured 3 was a nice even number.
Yeah. A third thing that I worry about with this podcast? Let's see.
Your answer to that question. Somehow I pushed my space button and it stopped everything.
I don't remember what I said, but I'm going to say that setting up recording days is the third thing I'm worried about, because it relies a lot on other people. And if a guest, for whatever reason, something comes up and they can't do it anymore, which is fair, we go from having a 3-person episode to a 2-person episode, and it kind of throws off the I guess, flow of the whole day. And you and I have agreed multiple occasions that the episodes with 3 guests are way better than the episodes with just the 2 of us.
With a guest, with 3 people.
With a guest,
yes. Yeah, 100% true. It is never as good when it is just the 2 of us.
But what about you? What are 3 things that you dread about the podcast?
Continuity.
Why are we starting with dreading the podcast?
Yeah, because that felt like a nice solid to go with our cold opener. I don't know. I couldn't think of anything better off the cuff. First one is definitely continuity.
Yeah.
I'd like to try to tell a more thorough story at this point. And if y'all haven't picked up on it, I try to stick as closely to Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 rules and lore as I can. Yeah, sure, it's out of date by 2 iterations, but I think anybody who plays D&D can openly admit 4e shouldn't exist, and I haven't taken the time to learn 5e. Therefore, the people I play with, like Kenny, haven't learned 5e.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much versed in 3.5 and Savage Worlds at this point. Anything else? I guess, what's 50 fathoms? I should know this.
Still Savage Worlds.
So, yeah.
Which is a different awesome setting. But yeah, that's where all the information comes from, so I constantly worry that a guest is going to throw out something completely new, and I'm going to have to be like, hang on. Fuck everything. We can't hang on. And then
pause for half an hour while we Google something.
And then deal with that for the rest of the day. A big one I didn't think about recently is recasting.
Recasting?
Yeah.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about now, I believe.
I am absolutely terrified because over the course of the year and a half we've done this, things have changed in life for the better and worse. And I don't have contact with the same lot of people I do before. And there's a number of people, for a number of reasons, whose characters I would like to still exist in the world, but have not gotten back to me, or don't have a functioning microphone anymore, or a lot of different things. And I would like to not suddenly change voices, because one, most people who show up here are actively my friends, and if they weren't before, they were after.
Right.
And I'd like to continue using those people. But if they don't get back to us, it just has to go longer and longer without having a character I'd like to have on, and it makes everything a little bit more difficult. Does work count? Because work is going to be my third.
You know what? Work absolutely counts as a third, because I might be in for a job change myself, and if that's true, I'm going to have even less time during a week to edit these. Oh,
I don't mean like actual work. I mean, when I scripted roughly 31 episodes about 2 years ago at this point, that's hard to think about.
Wow.
I did them all on a Chromebook at my primary position, and went, yeah, we're good. And then every episode from that point forward, we had to edit the intro speech because it was almost unreadable.
Yeah, a lot of those are really hard to get through. I don't remember which one it was, but there was like 3 sentences in a row where everything started with the same letter. And it's like, I don't know how you're supposed to get through this. It's impossible.
Yeah, all those got written pretty quick. I think one day the vice principal at the school I work for was actually over my shoulder looking at me, wondering what I was doing, and I quickly made it look as professional as possible. And I'm happy, and I'm willing to say that, because even if you know I work at a school, you're still not going to figure anything out. that person won't hear this or remember what happened, so I'm fine to say that. But yeah, I'd love this to be like strictly improv, but if we're going to tell a story that has continuity, it can't just be improv. There has to be a bit of other effort behind it.
Yeah, and a list of 400 bullet points isn't going to cut it.
Yeah, that is one of the Google Docs we have. It is pretty much just things that exist in no specific order, even.
Things that exist, things that have been said. I think you got one left.
No, that was 3.
That was 3? All right.
Continuity work and recasting.
Recasting. Then give me 3 things that you love about this podcast.
I mean, the easiest one, and I'm probably going to feed this one right back to you, is that I had a world I wanted to put out more content for, but no way to produce any content.
Right.
And you wanted to produce someone's content, but didn't have the creative juice to produce that much content.
Yeah, sort of.
So that when I was like, hey, you want to do a thing? We're like, we each have the thing the other person doesn't? Done.
Yeah. It was a really quick decision when you're like, hey, I have an idea for a podcast. And I remember, was it like over text? You texted it to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you texted it to me and you're like, hey, here's this idea. And I'm like, okay, we can do this, we can do that, I can do this, you can do that. And then you're like, oh, I thought you were going to say no.
Yeah, that was like I said, that was at a point where I was trying to offer more, just put more creatively out into the world. But I didn't think I would find someone so willing to actually, produce something that I put together.
And I'm going to interrupt your list with my number 1 because that's exactly the same thing. I've tried making my own content in the past, whether it was on Twitch or YouTube or whatever. And every single time I wasn't happy with the product, not because of like the quality or anything like that. Just it's me watching me over and over again. So that got a little boring. But being able to do something like this with someone else is so amazing. And we help keep each other on track for the most part. And I think that's really great.
I do agree with most of that. And and now it's going to be in this episode that I do appreciate how much more you do than me, because as much as it feels like I put in work pre-podcast and you put everything in post, you put in much more effort post than I put in pre. That's just
I appreciate that.
That's how that works. More of a list.
Yeah.
And now's the part where we cut out like 2 minutes of vamping for time as I try to come up with a more concise list than everything. And, just because as a 2 and 3, I mean, just generally speaking, the willingness that the lot of people we have had to just show up and just get thrown into a situation where they have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Specific shout out to Nick Cirillo, Flipstern Hillflaw. We talked him into a corner that left him talking to a bird. And Kenny and I looked at each other and went, all right, Kenny can find a bird sound effect. We got this. And then Nick, without missing a beat, began to caw. And it could not have been more perfect.
Unprompted, didn't even give us a hint that he was going to do that. He just started speaking bird and ran with it.
Didn't want dead air and just absolutely continued a conversation in bird with himself. Definitely one of the smoothest episodes we put together.
Absolutely.
Due to that being one of the big reasons.
Not to put down any of the other guests that we've had. Absolutely not. I want to thank every single person that had a hand in making this a reality.
And also on that same vein, I do want to mention a huge thank you to anybody who I threw a character at with so little information. I got a little better about it as the episodes went on, but some of the earlier ones, I'm like, yeah, here's 1 sentence of information. Wing it. You certainly winged it as best you could, and that's entirely my fault.
But Nick was in character the whole time, and pretty much what was left after all the post-production and everything like that, that was basically what we recorded. There was maybe 5 to 15 minutes worth of stuff that I had to cut out, but that's it. Usually it's like 45 minutes worth of just nothingness that I have to get rid of.
Yeah, sometimes we wind up with a lot of nothing.
That's true.
And that's, again, targeted no one in particular. Because at no point is I'm not going to use negatives. The whole recording process is fun. It's way better when we're with somebody, but like just hanging out in our quote unquote studio, just hanging out and goofing off is fantastic. Even if I don't know the people, because there's a few guests who are your friends first and not mine, and even those were fun.
Most of them are your friends, though.
Just due to the type of people we hang out with.
Yeah, but number 3.
I was buying time.
Well, now you don't have any more time to buy.
I mean, that's not true. I can continue talking about how little time I have, but the problem is I'm bad at thinking about two things directly like this at once, so I'm continuing this sentence as long as humanly possible, and not actually coming up with an answer for the number 3. While this is solid improv and I am buying a lot of time, like really looking at these seconds tick away, I am nailing this as far as killing more time in not answering this question. A real kind of political debate answer, as I just blather on about nothing. But I am getting absolutely no closer to an actual answer, nor am I running out any kind of clock.
And then I get rid of all of that.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, it could just go away. Still don't have a third, by the way. Like I said, was thinking about blathering on like that. I don't know. I can take the cheap route and just say getting to do more with you specifically.
Yeah,
we weren't particularly close at the start of this.
I was gonna say the exact same thing. So
that is to say, it's not like we weren't friends, but we were just kind of we played D&D together. We played Magic the Gathering together. That was about the extent. Whereas now it feels like a much more significant friendship on all levels.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I mean, we went to college together for mostly 4 years, right?
I mean, I was there for 6. I don't know how much of it synced up with you.
Okay. I wasn't sure if we were in the same group freshman year. I think you invited me over.
Absolutely not. I know I was there a year before you.
My freshman year.
Okay, your freshman year, yes.
I remember when we first actually talked, I was in the TV lounge with you and the group over there. I was sitting off to the side and you just got up, walked over to me and you're like, you know what? I see you sitting here every single day laughing at the stuff we're doing. So just come sit with me.
Yeah, that sounds like college version of me.
And here we are 5 years later, not 5 years later.
Yeah, we're old now. I'm old now.
Oh my God. Is that 8 years later?
That sounds about right.
I don't like that.
We are pushing like 10 years, my dude.
Wow, that's crazy. But yeah, I completely agree with what you said before. We saw each other pretty frequently, but it was usually through another friend. And now that we've been doing this podcast together, we're pretty much talking like every single day. I know I'll be at work alone in my office and we'll just do a Discord call for like 5 hours.
That is true. I believe it was things we love about this.
Yeah. I know we kind of had the same two being closer friends with each other now. And the first thing,
the wonderful not failed creation of this.
Yeah.
Which me begging for someone to help and you going, yeah, right, I got this.
What I love about this is being able to flex what I actually went to school for to some extent. I was a communications major and this kind of falls in that category. I never really had an excuse to generate content other than the sake of just doing it with no plans on anybody ever seeing it. But I love doing this. I love doing it with you. I love that I'm able to put something out that at least a few people listen to and like. So that's a big plus for me.
Yeah, in that same vein of conversation, seeing more than 3 people listen to an episode, you, me, and the guest.
Yeah.
Always feels good, even if that number is like 5.
I'll tell you what.
That means 2 people I can confirm I don't know, at least immediately listened to it.
So here's the thing. It's no secret that our podcast doesn't get the thousands and thousands of views we kind of want it to, but people listen to it. Our last episode went up at 8:37 a.m. on May 1st. Now, because of what I said earlier, I'm just going to really check if May 1st was a Friday. So we're good. But in the last 38 days, or the last 30 days, we've had 38 listens to our podcast. And we haven't had a new episode for 2 months.
Yeah, a couple of days away from 2 months at time of recording.
Yeah, so even though we haven't really produced an episode in the last 2 months, we still have people listening to it. And that's amazing. I can see, I don't really know what this number is, but I think it might be total downloads, not listens, specifically downloads. We have almost 1,000 downloads over the course of 30 episodes.
And I'm a miserable cynic, and I just assume out of every number you tell me for people or downloads or anything, half of them are bots. So even 500 still feels really good.
Yeah, I mean,
because we have not had 500 people help craft this show.
No, but it could be, one person listening to their episode 10 times.
Oh, it's total? All right. That feels a little less good, but even if you...
That's downloads, though, not listens. I can't see listens because of the things we have. So it was downloaded almost 1,000 times, which means that even if one person wanted to listen to it more than once, they saved a copy of it multiple times, which seems less likely to me.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a reasonable assumption.
I know you're still looking up something in the background.
Oh, no, I already did it.
Okay.
I've decided I'm just going to be wrong, and maybe the dream will come true, and I'll get like a voice email of her just yelling at me to pronounce her name right.
One thing I want to say before we go into that, what's like the one thing that happened with this podcast that you think was an obstacle that we really had to overcome?
Having socially awkward friends, not want to help, but not want to come do voices.
Right.
My answers are all going to be not technology based.
And most of mine will be.
It's almost like you edit the show and I kind of produce it, I guess.
We had a conversation about this once, and I forget what we landed on, but I think the
conclusion was the producer is a nothing title. If you're a producer, it kind of means that you're attached to the show but don't really do anything.
That's the complete opposite, because without the producer, the show doesn't exist.
I don't know.
If nobody's there to produce it, then the idea can be there, but nothing's happening.
But that's the difference between producers and a producer. Does the producer produce something? Because if that's the case, you're a producer. Yes, I'm not.
I am the producer. You are definitely the creative director and writer, quote unquote, of the podcast.
Yeah, so that sounds way more professional than what I actually do.
No, we had this specific conversation. I said I was what did I say? I was the technical director and the producer. You were the creative director, the writer and creative director, something like that.
Something akin to that.
Yeah, no, there's actual industry labels that we can give ourselves. We're not professional, but we can pretend to be. But the biggest obstacle that I know we had was in regards to the important message that went out on December 30th, like a few days after Christmas. I don't remember which time this was, if it was due to work or other things, but my computer completely crapped the bed.
Yeah.
I did not have a functional computer for 2 weeks or something like that?
Give or take, yeah.
I was trying so hard to fix it on my own, only to find out that my processor just got corrupted somehow. I know corrupting processor, that's not really a thing, but I was trying to fix another computer with mine, and whatever issue that computer had went through my processor and it bricked it. So I had to go and buy a new motherboard, a new CPU, new RAM, because everything on my computer is a few years old and they don't support that socket anymore, which was really annoying. And the audio interface that we use crashes my computer like at least once a session. Speaking of which, I'm going to save.
Before I forget, because we're likely to make it to the end of this and forget, I want to throw out a huge thank you. I'm not going to use her last name, but I will absolutely name drop Alora by first name. For a while, our sole patron. I'm not going to say anything more than getting even a quarter a month to produce this felt so validating.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, just I know.
Knowing that even one single person was like, I like this enough to give them a money. Here, have a money and keep making it.
Like, the goal for anybody making content is essentially to be paid to produce that content. But like I said earlier, I've tried in the past doing YouTube, Twitch, and all that. I've never made a dime, which is fine. But when somebody said, this thing you're doing, I like, here's something that took me literal time and effort to make, you can have it. That was just from that moment was so right. It really made me think that we can do this. Like before it was just, us kind of having fun, goofing around, putting something out in the world. But as soon as she started donating to our Patreon, we were technically being paid to do this. And that was just so good to feel.
I agree. Ideally, I could keep my not fantastic job and supplement it with this. In basic value, I would love to have enough patrons to support the old ass technology we're using to be replaced before it breaks down. Not when it breaks down, but before that happens.
Yeah, this interface we got from one of my friends, and it's been holding up, but it's not the best. And because of how old it is and maybe some problems it has, when I have to edit, it makes certain things really hard.
A problem I'm glad I don't have. But like I said, not perfect world, but like slightly more ideal world would have us making enough money to replace this stuff. Because while you bought that to me technology brick for $40, it is worth well more than that.
Yes. I got a really good deal from a friend who sold me this because I looked it up when this device was new. It was like $800.
40 is less than 800.
And it was new in 2006. So.
And as far as technology goes, that makes it ancient.
Yeah, we're lucky it has USB ports. Let's just say that.
So on these, on this kind of idea of hopes and aspirations, what do you dream of for this?
What do I dream of for this?
Yeah, and like wildest fantasy to come out of this.
My absolute wildest fantasy. Can I name drop here? Can I name drop other things? This isn't our actual core show, so is that fine?
That's fine.
I'm going to go ahead and say it is.
I don't see any reason not to.
There's a few things that I would love for this podcast. One, I would love to be able to support a living off of it, just so I can focus on this and not my stupid day job. I would love to be able to have this reach more people. Like if we could get even 1,000 weekly listens, just feels so right. That would be amazing. I would absolutely love to be able to do a live show, but that would take some practice with the kind of story we're trying to tell to be able to do live.
Well, much like other D&D-esque podcasts, it would be a one-shot. Spoiler alert for if it actually happens, as I would be the one probably putting it together, it would be not scripted, but we'd have some talking points written out, and it would be like, Recorder and Sam, go and do a thing somehow.
That's fair.
Like even if it's just like 50 feet that way, we went over here and did this thing over here. Let's never do that again.
Yeah. And the final thing that I would absolutely love to have happen to our little baby podcast that we're putting together ourselves is having actual name recognizable guests.
Yeah, that's one of my big ones. I was absolutely gonna say live show with you. And I'm actually gonna take the moment in time right now to call a few people out as absolute dream gets for really no other reason than I would love to meet them and have the story of saying, I bought this guy dinner. So, the three cheap shots I'm gonna take right now are Elizabeth Gillies, Weird Al Yankovic, and Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Oh yeah.
If we're gonna add on to that, I consume much more McElroy content than I want. And I know they've gotten too big for us, and there's no hope of getting Justin Travis or Griffin. But there's a chance we might be able to get Clint.
Their dad.
I'm game. I'd be game for that.
Me too.
He does absolutely amazing voices.
He does, and they're all awesome, and I love every podcast that I've listened to from them. And yeah. I'm going to add to that list Arnie Niekamp, Matt Young, and Adil Rafai, because we're kind of in that same, genre, and any single one of them doing a crossover episode would be perfect. I think that is when we could go say, you know what? Yeah, we've made it. We actually do a podcast.
I'm going to go throw one more name out into that list, just for the sheer hope. The just to have that thread of connection should it ever possibly exist. Cecil Baldwin.
Cecil Baldwin.
The voice of Night Vale in Welcome to Night Vale.
Oh, okay.
I've been to a good deal of the live shows, and he seems like a wonderful hoot, and he has a spectacular voice. And even if even if we just got him yelling at us for like 5 minutes, that would be a delight.
I could go on pretty much forever about people that I would love to have as a guest. Ashley Birch is one of them. I don't know if you know who she is. Ashley Birch. She was a guest on other podcasts, but she's the voice of Chloe from Life is Strange. She's the voice of Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn. She's in The Last of Us Part 2. She's in Borderlands. She's awesome, and I think she has a really cool voice, so I'd like to see her.
Fair enough. The end result of this is I'd love to meet a famous person.
Through the podcast.
Just to say that have them do a voice.
Yeah.
Just to say that I've met a famous person.
Yeah.
Like, they did a super cool thing for/with me. Like, even if I even go out to say that, like, I'd consider flying them. Should the world settle down, I'd consider flying them out to us, buying them dinner, and putting them up in a hotel at no cost to them, just to say that I've met them. You laugh, but I'm serious.
I see where you're coming from with that, but from their point of view, a fan wants to fly me to where they are and put me where they know I'll be sleeping and feed me food that I don't know.
Okay, fine. Now you've made it creepy. I'm not talking about like home cooking them a meal. My ability to bribe like a 99 to drug a celebrity is probably pretty low.
I mean, I have met a few people before, mostly voice actors. That would be totally cool. I don't know if they would ever give a second thought to if they remembered me, but I worked the Fan Expo with them. I met the voice actor for Azula, Grey Delisle, or Delisle. I really don't know how to pronounce that, so if she ever listens to this, sorry. That's probably not going to happen, though. Let's see, who else did I meet? Oh, yeah, Joe DiMaggio. That'd be dope. Wait, did I say Joe DiMaggio? I meant John DiMaggio.
Yeah.
Jason David Frank, Tommy Oliver from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. He might remember me, but probably not.
You beat up that guy for him.
I beat up that guy for him?
Yeah, you just decked that guy at that convention.
Yeah.
Just right in the nose. Send him to the hospital.
But yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. But that's a pipe dream.
Yeah, that's what any of this is. It is
specifically name calling famous people. Hey, you should do a thing with me because we spent 30 seconds in the same room once.
Yeah, mine's even more of a stretch. I don't even have that. I'm just gonna name drop people and see if anybody will send me an angry email and going, "Hey, why'd you say my name?"
Yeah, don't ever talk to me again. Don't talk to me or my son ever again.
Don't even talk about me.
All right, where do we go from here?
I don't know how deep do. This may or may not make it into the episode. Just this conversation. How deep do we want to go? I don't think people are going to want to listen to us for that long. It's not like you and I even do voices. So the fact that I'm already blown away somebody listens to me stumble through my words as quote unquote a character.
Yeah, that's one thing that, like, when we started out,
either of us should have done. We should have made characters as opposed to go, yeah, just us.
Yeah, I mean, Recorder pretty much is just me, but fantasy. Originally, I wanted to have like some sort of metallic reverb with Recorder's voice, but I could not figure that out personally, so that never made it. But yeah, if we had,
I'll throw the teaser out there. That hasn't made it yet. We've talked about how to put that in post.
That's true. That is absolutely true. So,
which doesn't include going back and re-editing anything. So
yeah.
If that's enough of a teaser to make people continue to listen for something that may or may not ever happen.
There was if we had done character voices, that probably would set things apart. But I don't know. I feel like my regular speaking voice, and when I'm not trying to think of the next in-universe thing to say, I do sound and carry myself differently than when I'm Recorder. Because, like, I can look at the track being recorded right here and see how long that I've said something without either being interrupted or had to stop and think about what to say next. That's different than Recorder. Recorder's like, yeah, all right. And that's pretty much it.
On the same note, I'm looking up and just seeing huge tracks of no register from my voice, and I'm like, this clearly isn't a podcast. I'm not dominating all the conversation. What is this?
And, that's not even a bad thing, because this is, at the end of the day, your world, and I get to be a part of it, but you get to tell me where it's going.
But that involves me having a plan for where it's going.
And that's a different thing entirely.
A healthy dose of no attention span certainly gets in the way of that. You'd think after a year and a half of this, we would have gotten better at, cold opens. We would have gotten better at planning ahead. Something would have improved, but instead we just fumble around in the dark every time, even though we know where the light switch is. We never reach there first.
I'm sure if we sat down and tried to plan out in just one episode, it would be really good, but then that's not improv. And that being said, neither one of us are trained in improv.
Two things about that. The first of which I've immediately forgotten. And the second of which
improv.
The second of which I'm currently forgetting. Hang on. Let me hold on to it real quick. Where was I going with this? Oh, we in that same kind of vein of thought, going into what we are now titling season 2.
Yes.
In theory, we'll be able to get some more story out, and in order to do that, we are going to have to sit down and write a story.
Yeah, but we can write a story that spans, let's say, another 30 episodes versus planning one episode. Because if you plan one episode, it's scripted. If you plan a season and just wing the season, essentially, that's improv.
Yeah, because to me, the difference you've described is having somebody pitch a baseball at you when you're swinging versus pitching like one of those giant balls you ride in down a hill.
It's easier to hit the bigger ball.
Yeah, I can miss the baseball. That's fine. And that feels much worse because you feel like that's what that's supposed to do. But if I miss the whole season, that's a problem.
Yeah.
I feel like I lost the metaphor a bit there, but something stands up after it.
There are a few things that happened in the real world that kind of stole the thunder away from things that we have had planned. Like, I don't want to get too specific, but we know where season 2 is going to go. There have been other...
I know where season 3 is going to go.
I don't, so I'm interested about that. But there have been things, specifically content that we just enjoy in our own time, that have done literally the exact thing that we were planning to do 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And without name dropping it, because as soon as we do, you can go, oh, they're going to do that, and oh, they're going to do that. But we're trying to find a way to do what we wanted to do differently that doesn't make it seem like we're directly ripping off something else.
Yeah, because we consume a lot of the same material, which is even themed similarly.
Yeah.
And there's a lot we got to do to not just copy them.
Yeah.
Because it's real easy to just fall into the same tropes and the same kinds of jokes, especially when, so much of the core concept is analogous. I don't want to say similar. It's, a bug is a bug, but bugs look very different.
Yeah.
Still bugs, but,
yeah.
A fly and a Hercules beetle don't really have too much in common short of is a bug.
Yeah.
And we're trying to make sure that we don't, sync back up with other podcasts as flawlessly as possible. We'd like to be our own unsuable entity.
Yes. Remember when we were talking about goals for the future? That. Unsuable.
Audibly distinct.
Yes. You listen to it and go, oh, this is its own thing, not, that sounds like it could be a spin-off of something else.
Yeah. I suppose now would be an okay time to mention the front work that went into this. And I'm going to throw out a polite little thank you to Wizards of the Coast for letting so much of your content be free to use.
Yeah.
To allow people to make stories in it and put them out into the world for everybody to find at no cost to basically me for having written using your framework.
Right.
Using the elements that you've created, I can do my own thing and we can both get credit for it. So, as polite as I can be about your own, legal usages, thank you for making it so easy and kind. That's not the right word I want to use.
No, I'll argue that kind works because any company can make a thing and say, yeah, you know what, you can use it, but you owe us a fee or you have to do this special for us. They don't do that. They say, we made a thing, have fun. And I think that shows just what a kind company and kind people that run it are, because at the end of the day, they're also gamers. They also listen to fantasy podcasts. And if what they create helps other people create even more, that's amazing to me.
Hey, Wizards of the Coast, sponsor us.
I love all of your products. I play Pokemon, I play Magic, I love all of your stuff. Yes, give us a sponsor. That's another dream, sponsors.
Yeah, it's a big one. But for now, I'm cool with patrons because, like I said, even a single patron feels lovely.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid the fact that we might get 2. We might get a whole other one after they listen to this and hear us not beg, but, kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I
mean, if it takes begging, I'll beg. I don't have any pride.
I have enough to not beg. I have enough. I have enough, and then also enough word skills to be like, yeah, maybe do this. Just help us out a little bit.
Do you want to start the teaser?
No, I think we've bumbled our way through enough of this, and we can kind of wind down by mentioning that for as long as the pandemic goes on, again, I don't like talking about it, so I'm going to try to blaze past that aspect as fast as possible. It will be difficult for us to produce Recorder and Sam.
Yes, just because of how much goes into it on the back end, and just me keeping in mind quality between me and Tucker, because I'm using our regular recording equipment and Tucker's using his microphone, and I'm sure you guys can already tell the difference because I'm not going to try to make you sound fancy. Sorry.
And on the same note, I have an okay microphone.
Yeah.
A lot of our guests
do not.
Which means we can use the same couple of people over and over again, but that'll get real stale real quick. So to continue to segue, we do have a different podcast in mind.
Yes.
We are going to, as terrible as the idea is, we're actually waiting for the theme song to get written before we do anything with it.
Yes.
We both have high hopes for it, if only because we think we're hilarious and that everybody should listen to us.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
That's more or less.
The funnier I think we get, the more I want to do this podcast, whether or not we're actually funny or not.
Yeah, that's the problem, is I can sit here and chuckle at the things you and I are saying for quite some time. That doesn't change the fact that a single other soul finds us consistently hilarious. But it's a podcast where we can make reference and complain and talk about other stuff, and pretty much go off as far on a tangent as we want. Yeah, see what I did there? I don't want to get more specific. I don't want to get more specific than that inside joke between us and potentially the listeners should they want to do this and then that.
Right. I do want to give a little bit as to what it is going to be without saying anything specific. What you could expect from this second show from us, second project, whatever you want to call it, is a lot of passionate discussion. I can say that.
Things are likely to get heated.
A fair amount of yelling and probably genuine anger is what I'm going to say. Just thinking about it, I know there are going to be a few sections where you and I will be fuming at each other just because of what's happening.
Potentially.
And to me, that makes it even better. Because, civil conversations are fine and intriguing to listen to, but when you have two people on completely opposite sides about something they both love yelling at each other, I think that is amazing.
And it too will include a guest or two.
Here and there, yep.
Yeah, be it from here and there or consistently. We're very much likely to use a couple of the people you've heard before rather frequently because we have some opinionated friends.
That is absolutely true.
And that will absolutely help what we're going for with this. But we may as well say it under the AB umbrella. We are adding a second title, and we will get to it. Like I said, pretty much as soon as that theme song's done, I think we're going to try to record the first one. Yeah,
absolutely. And if that ends up being tomorrow, I'm game.
Yeah,
I got so many things I want to talk about.
Yeah, the hard part is going to settle on
What do we talk about first?
Yeah, in the first episode, what do we do to really drive home the point? And I think I have a good one.
I think I do too, and we might be on the same page without ever talking about it.
Well, I mean, we can discuss that here and now.
Yeah?
In that, I kind of want the first episode to be about the lyrics of the theme song. I want that to be where the first episode starts.
Okay, that's fair. I don't think we actually discussed the theme song having lyrics.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about.
All right.
I think that'll be a good starting point for the path we will hold your hand and run sprinting down.
So if that's the how you want to start the first one, then I can think of off the top of my head 4 complete episodes here and now that we could probably record in one day, even though we're not going to want to because we will be pissed at each other by the time the first one's done.
We've gotten into these arguments before, and I don't think that it's going to be quite that bad, but
no?
We should definitely consider editing out a good chunk of this to keep some amount of mystery alive.
Yeah.
And on what is potentially a good chunk of what we just said edited out and leaving you, the listener, completely in the dark about a lot of things. I think it's about time that we shut up and kind of bring this to a close.
In the spirit of ending an episode, we do want to thank every single person who was either on the show as a guest, listened to the show, gave us feedback, asked a question.
Both of those. All both of the legitimate questions we got asked.
Anybody who listened to it in the car, anybody who listened to it with a friend,
anybody who listened to it on the toilet.
Listen to it on the toilet. Thank you to those people. Just a sincere, from the bottom of both of our hearts, thank you so much to every single person that helped make I'm going to say our dream a reality and something that we can continue to make and something we can continue to pour our heart and soul and dedication into. So thank you guys, every single one of you.
Agreed. Right? That's just as heartfelt and sympathetic, just saying that. And I think at the end of that sentence is probably a good ending.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I meant John DiMaggio. John DiMaggio is the voice actor. Joe DiMaggio is a baseball player.